things appear and the way things really are. Emotions alter our perception. And if you act during that time, you'll always say the same thing. I should have never said that. I should have never done that. I should have never thought that. I should have never sent that email. So then shortening your emotional reactions is a level of intelligence then that causes you then to recalibrate. Because most people don't think they have control over that. They'll say, that person did it to me. That circumstance is the reason I am this way. And I would say, if something in your outer environment is controlling your thoughts and feelings, then you're a victim to your environment. And yet, how you think and feel creates your outer world. So if you're thinking and feeling equal to everything that's known in your present personal reality, you keep creating more of the same. So to change then is to think and feel greater than the conditions in your environment. And to be able to do that to such a degree then, you're no longer reacting to the same people in the same way. And that takes an effort. It's not easy in the beginning. But once you start practicing, you get better at it. And just like anything else, you start to move through your life with more coherence, and you're less likely to knee-jerk. And if you're less likely to knee-jerk, then you're not in an unconscious program. I think one of the most important things when we lose sight of our vision is to make time for ourselves. And I think that when you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. Disconnecting from people in your life and places that you have to go and things that you do or things that you own long enough to begin to reignite a vision of how you see yourself or how you see your future, and begin to emotionally embrace that future and change your state of being, allows us to see a whole new landscape. If you've lost sight of your vision, take a moment and remember that vision and begin to emotionally embrace it. And from that state of being, start to think about the things you want to do, the choices you want to make. So write them down. Review the behaviors that you have to demonstrate, your goals and experiences and how it's going to feel. When you do that enough times, you're changing your brain neurologically and you're changing your body genetically. Write down the unconscious thoughts that you have to stay conscious of. Become aware of the choices that you no longer need to make. Review the behaviors and habits you have to change about yourself and become so conscious of them that you won't go unconscious at all during your day. Remember the experiences in your environment that you need to stay away from, whether it's a person or a thing, just for a period of time, so that you can keep that vision alive. And most importantly,
that's a good idea.
Review those emotions that keep you connected to the past and become so conscious.
It's all about boundaries. I started
doing
doing that recently.
You feel that feeling, that if it's guilt or sadness or pain, the moment you start feeling it and you become conscious of it, that's when you can begin to change. And if you keep doing this over and over again, the unlearning and the relearning, the breaking the habit of the old self and reinventing a new self, is going to cause you to arrive at a whole new future. And when you do, this could become your new habit.
I'm Eileen, and I'm a content creator and entrepreneur at DAGR. I
That's
began using
special.
Adobe Premiere.
Can't go to the future holding on to the biology of your past. Decide what
Gotta look
thoughts
forward for
you
sure.
bring to your future. Write them down. Thoughts like, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change, I'll start tomorrow, what's wrong with me, it's someone else's fault. Decide on what behaviors or actions or unconscious habits you have to change. How do you talk? Do you complain? Do you
Let go of
blame?
your
Do you
past
make
self for sure.
excuses? Do you
Definitely.
feel sorry for yourself? Just become so conscious of those behaviors that you'll never go unconscious again. And lastly, you have to decide what emotions no longer belong in your future. That means if you want to be wealthy, you can't take lack. If you want to be healthy, you can't take insecurity or fear. You got to begin to condition your body to a new mind. If you do this every single day, your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. Change any one of those things, and you change your life. And begin to measure the effects that you would cause. Give it a shot. Your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So the present personality who's listening to this little video has created the present personal reality called your life. Which means then, if you wanted to create a new personal reality, a new life, you would have to change your personality. That means you'd have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change means you'd have to become aware of your unconscious habits and behaviors and modify them. And you'd have to look at certain emotions that keep you connected to experiences in the past and decide that these emotions belong in your future.
Nope.
The beauty behind this is that when you begin to change how you think, how you act, and how you feel, you should begin to see changes in your life.
Definitely.
And I recommend that you try it out.
Love inspires us.
100%.
It inspires us to give. It inspires us to express. It inspires us to serve, to care for one another, to be kind to one another, to listen with compassion and understanding. And love actually causes us to create. We become creative in that state. And you've heard me say that when there is a change in energy, there's a change in your life. And inspiration is a change in energy. And if you don't change your energy, if you stay in the same energy, then it makes sense that your life stays the same. So if you can become inspired and raise your energy, you become aware of things that you were once unaware of. Why? Because energy causes us to become conscious of things we were once unconscious to. In other words, you change your frequency, you have more access to information. And that's the name of the game here. So if you stay at the same level of energy every single day, then you will be unaware of possibilities. You'll not be able to create anything new. So you can't see any possibilities, again, from the same energy. In order for you to become inspired by love, inspired by energy, you'll become conscious of possibilities that you were once unconscious of. Now, energy, or energy in motion, they are emotions. And so if we live by the same emotions every single day, and we haven't changed who we are, and there's a movement happening where you're in the creative state, and you stay in the same feelings and the same familiar emotions, then you can't see any possibilities because you're looking through the lens of some past experience, and you can only see the same. So then, inspiration then, the word inspiration means the movement of energy. Inspiration, to inspire, in spirit. It is becoming more energy and less matter.
The majority of our thoughts and feelings are connected to our sexuality, to our victimization, our guilt, our suffering, our shame, our unworthiness, our self-doubt, or our importance, our control, our fear, or our anger, our frustration, our hatred, our judgment. Those are the first three hormonal centers in the body, and those first three centers have everything to do with survival. And those centers are energy consumers. Orgasm, digestion, stress is a lot of energy that we're drawing from our very vital life force, our resource of light and information, and we're turning it into chemistry, and we're literally robbing the body's energy, right? So then living like that for the short term is okay because the body can move back to homeostasis and restore itself, but when we're overdoing that consistently, then there's no energy for growth and repair because you're living constantly in survival. So again, you can eat all the right food, you can do all the right things, but if you're living in anxiety and fear and you're viewing your world from the worst case scenario that could possibly happen, because that's what you do in survival, there's no energy for growth and repair. There's no energy for healing. So the majority of our thoughts are signaling certain circuits in the brain that signal another part of the brain, limbic brain, to make what's called a neuropeptide. Neuropeptides are chemical messengers that signal hormonal centers. So now you're taking thought and you're storing it as energy in these energy centers. And if you're living in survival, why would you open your heart? I mean, it's just not a time to open your heart. I mean, if you're getting chased by T-Rex, it's not a time to meditate. It's not a time to learn. It's not a time to connect. It's not a time to communicate. It's not a time to sit down and go within. It's not a time to be vulnerable. It's time to run, fight, or hide. To change is to be greater than your environment. That means to be greater than the conditions in your life, to be greater than the circumstances in your world. And every great person in history knew this. That means you have to be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past. To change means be greater than your body. Those unconscious habits and behaviors and choices that you've made over and over again so many times that the body becomes the mind. Emotions that are connected to past experiences keep you anchored emotionally to the past, and if those emotions are driving your thoughts, and those thoughts are creating the same emotions, then your body has become the mind, which means that in order for you to change, you're going to have to get greater than those emotional reactions, habits, and hardwired attitudes that keep you running unconscious programs. And to change then is to be greater than time. If you're waking up every single day and making the same choices and demonstrating the same behaviors and creating the same experiences, and you do that over and over again, it makes sense that your past is going to look a lot like your future, and your future will be more of your past. Finding the sweet spot of the generous present moment, existing in that place where you're no longer trying to predict the future based on the past, means you're in the unknown. And when you're in that place called the eternal present moment, that's where all possibilities exist. Give it a try. If your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel, and it is, yes or no, and you stop thinking the same way, and nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together, every place where one neuron connects with another neuron is called a memory. So as you begin to unfire and unwire, you prune the very circuits in your brain that are connected to the old self. And the memory of the old self begins to mutate, begins to change. So then you would say, where is that memory stored? And it's stored in the soul now as wisdom, because you're no longer that person. Yes or no? And if you could no longer behave the same way, and nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together, and pruning is part of biology, you don't use it, you lose it, then your memory of the old self would begin to change. And that is a biological death in the beginning that is uncomfortable for a lot of people. If you're no longer feeling the same emotions that keep you connected to the past, and you keep inhibiting that process, the body will be craving the chemicals in the beginning because it's been conditioned that way. It's been addicted. It's the mind. And it's anticipating events and the emotions from those events, and you're putting the brakes on. And that's uncomfortable. And you got to stay conscious, and it takes an enormous amount of energy. And you're no longer signaling the same genes and producing the same hormones. And your body is no longer being influenced by your mind in the same way. Sometimes the mind is the biggest enemy to the body, and you're inhibiting that process. And the body, which has become the mind, wants its way, and it's uncomfortable to change. And you've got to be able to be greater than that, to truly change. And everybody that's changed has come up against that feeling, and they almost make the same choice if they don't. And they're so glad that they did. And it takes an enormous amount of energy and awareness to do that. So as the old self deconstructs, because you have the free will to decide who you want to be on a moment-to-moment basis. And if your life isn't changing and you want to change your life, you got to change. And now you are playing the game, and you are now saying, this personality, this person that I've become, I'm in the habit of being it, and I want to become somebody else. And the more you learn about love, the more you learn about life, the more you learn about possibility and potential, the more you become aware of it, there are more possibilities, and knowledge is the thing that gives us that. And so the old self is a memory, like another lifetime. Like, you can remember it, but you're no longer interested in it any longer because it no longer defines you. How many people understand what I'm talking about? So then the biological death of the old self is crossing a river of change, and you got to stay with it long enough to become somebody else. You think it's about wealth, you think it's about health, it's about who you become. The people who become somebody else, they see dramatic changes in their health and in their lives. And they can't find the words to be able to explain it. But it's practical, though. If you truly want to change your life, you have to change yourself. You would have to be conscious of your thoughts and aware of your actions and familiar with those emotions, and you would never fall from grace. And if you did, you would stop and self-correct. If you truly were interested in evolution, and if you said to me, I lost it because of that person, I'd say to you, back to the unconscious program of allowing your environment to control how you feel and think. You got two choices. Stay there for another 6 hours, or pause and change your energy. Change your energy and get back to the emotions of your future and the feelings of your future. It's a much better place to be. Reason this with me. You could have a great meditation and condition your body